The big story of the day, a man has been arrested and this is after an assault rifle was recovered after an apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump was foiled.
The former President Trump was playing golf on his course in Florida when gunshots were fired and the Secret Service opened fire on the armed suspect.
The individual left an AK-47 style assault rifle and other items at the scene and fled in a vehicle, but was later arrested.
And, of course, it comes just 2 months after he was shot at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania.
Well, let's speak now to former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman Amy Tarkanian. This is terrible news.
Yes.
It's absolutely devastating, whether you like or loathe Donald Trump. Unacceptable. What is going on in America?
Well, it's frightening. And actually, this man has a little bit of a rap sheet, which is even more concerning, because where did he fall through the cracks? There is a list of problems where he did a hit and run. He had been arrested for possession of another weapon. He had been in possession of stolen goods. And the biggest concern was in North Carolina, he was actually part of a barricade where he closed himself off for over 3 hours with a fully automatic machine gun. And he was only given probation, according to North Carolina corrections records. So there is a massive problem, I think, also within our justice system, and the fact that this guy is even allowed to roam around at this point.
This alleged shooter, Ryan Ruth, he was apparently, according to reports online, a big supporter of Ukraine. He'd, again, reportedly had social media posts accusing Trump of failing democracy and not doing enough to back Ukraine. What do we know about him and his Ukrainian links?
Sure. Well, there's video footage and there's numerous posts on his social media feeds where he is actually trying to actively recruit people to go and fight on behalf of Ukraine. And so he's somebody who was not just somebody who spoke about the war, but he's somebody who actually visited the war. And he's somebody who was very actively trying to get involved as much as possible in the war. And so we still don't know what his motive was, but the fact that we do know President Trump is somebody who wants to limit, if not stop, the amount of funding that goes to the Ukrainian war efforts at this point. I mean, it would lead one to assume that could have maybe been one of the major issues this mentally ill individual had.
Amy, this is being described by the FBI as a success, the fact that they were able to foil it. Do you think it's a success that somebody was able to come so close, lying in wait? Clearly, Donald Trump is walking around with a target on him, and they've already had one, very close shave. They shouldn't have got this close, should they? Or was this a success?
No, I mean, obviously, the outcome was a success, but the beginnings of it, thankfully, there was an innocent bystander who actually saw this potential assassin in the bushes and filed a report, called in the report of concern. And so that's why the security detail was able to move so swiftly. What I've understood is, as the former president was golfing, he had his detail split into two groups. So you had one in front and one in back. And so, the one that was in the advance actually caught the message, also followed through with seeing that this individual was hiding in the bushes with, plenty of ammunition and weaponry to do potential damage. And they were able to take him in. But if it wasn't for this other individual who happened to catch him while he was driving by and make the phone call, who knows if it would have been a success.
We've heard from Trump himself, who released a statement, and, of course, the White House as well. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both releasing statements. Kamala Harris saying she was glad that her political rival at least, was OK. What does this mean politically for the election? It's 7 weeks away now. Is this going to be, as we saw with the Pennsylvania attempted assassination, maybe a little boost in the polls for Donald Trump?
Well, maybe a slight bump. I don't think as massive as a bump as what happened the first go around. I think the fact that you now has, as you just mentioned, both Kamala Harris and President Biden very swiftly put out a message of condemning the violence and thanking Secret Service and our police officers for doing their job. I think that was very important, so that way we as a nation can continue to move forward. Whereas the first time that happened, it seemed that the White House was kind of moving very slowly, and everyone was really confused and kind of taken aback. I think now that this has happened not once, but twice in a matter of just a couple of months, I would hope that President Trump and his family and his team would beef up their security even more so. I mean, you even hear people say, I hope he has a food taste tester, because this is getting out of hand and it's terrifying.
What would be the impact if any of these attempts had been successful, do you think, on democracy, on law and order? I mean, do you think that there would be civil unrest if Donald Trump had tragically been assassinated?
Well, that's, an assumption I would hate to actually make. I would hope that law and order would stay in place. I think right now people are somewhat in shock that this has happened not just once, but twice in such a short amount of time. I mean, this is something that's not unheard of, unfortunately, with high profile and political individuals, but it's been at least a couple, if not several decades since there's been somebody who has actually tried to do with the follow through of an attempt of assassination and actually be brought to the forefront publicly. And so, this is something that is of major concern. We are in a very toxic environment, unfortunately. Our political atmosphere is at an all-time high of unraveling. You have unrest. I would hope that there would still be civil obedience and not disobedience, and that people would be able to keep cooler heads, because this is something that we need to, get control of, so that way either side is safe. You don't wish this upon anyone.
OK, Amy Tarkanian, you're the former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman. Thank you for joining us this morning. I interviewed Eric Trump a few months back in Scotland when he went up to Trump's golf course there, and the family were fuming with that first assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. They said that, they've been with the Secret Service a long time, ever since they were much, much younger, but they just couldn't get past the anger that somebody was allowed to have a free crack at their dad. As they did in Pennsylvania.
Well, last week, when they went head-to-head in the debate, Melania Trump, just hours before, released a video, didn't she, saying she thought that there was something suspicious involved in that first assassination attempt. They will be very, very aggrieved about all of this. Trump himself struck a very conciliatory tone, I think, given that he was the subject of yet another attempt on his life, coming out calling for unity and peace, and saying that nothing will slow him down. I think that, given how terrifying it must be to live like that, to be perfectly honest, now for him, that was a brave and honourable message to put out there.
He did try and strike that tone the first time it happened in Pennsylvania, and it lasted for about 24 hours. And lots of political analysts and campaigners were saying, if Trump can keep up this message of unity, even if you're faking it, just try and keep it up until the election. You'll probably do yourself a massive favour.
Didn't last very long, though.
Whether he can do it from here on, I don't know.
Let us know your thoughts. We still just scratch our heads, don't we, in this country, as to why they can't get a grip of their gun problem. Why on earth was somebody able to walk around with an AK-47 automatic rifle? Just blows our mind, especially when, we lived through Dunblane, where they were able to get a grip of handguns and ban them in this country. Obviously, there are constitutional issues in the United States, but surely there's the potential for amendments, for changes. It's not working. It's not safe.
The problem is there's so many guns. I think there's 4 or 5 weapons to each American. There's so many guns on the streets. I just don't know how you start.
I just don't believe it's intractable, this problem. I just don't accept that we can't fix it. It's a man-made problem. There should be a man-made solution. And, we've got a problem with knives here. Every now and then we do amnesties. Why can't they get a grip of it? Maybe the fact that they're going and have had these 2 attempts on, the very top of the establishment might make them think twice about it all. But, what do you think about it? Let us know your thoughts this morning. gbnews.com.